Hello and welcome back to the Anti-Alienation Project, your source for all things related to parental alienation. My name is Maddie, and last year I figured out that I had been alienated from my dad for 20 years. Since then, I've been speaking out about this form of abuse and trying to spread awareness and wake all of the kids who are still suffering up. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I don't usually give trigger warnings. But on today's video, I will just say that if you are struggling, if you're in a dark spot, maybe go ahead and skip it. Come back to it later. I have a feeling it'll be a pretty dark video. I am going to live react to this. I haven't seen this video yet, but it is about a girl, an alienated child, who was coerced and manipulated into helping her dad actually kill her mom. I think it might be interesting for people to see a formerly alienated child react to this terrible tragedy. Shout out to Chefanacia on Twitter who sent me this case and suggested that I give it a look. So here we go.
Well, it goes without saying this is such a tragic case, a mother of three dead, so many questions surrounding her death. The reporter on this case who's learned a lot about it, Erin, joining me now to answer some questions about what did you learn when you were investigating about the relationship between the mother and her then 19-year-old daughter?
Well, I think what she had been complaining for 5 years since the divorce with her husband was that her ex-husband, Lloyd Neurauter, had actually alienated the three girls away from her.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that the mother herself had claimed that she was being alienated. That brings a whole nother level to it. She was claiming it and obviously no one gave her the help that she needed. That's okay. So we're dealing with a full-blown alienation case right off the bat.
And she had complained to the courts and filed all these court documents. And in fact, that is exactly what the DA now believes happened. She was found dead in her home. At first it was viewed undetermined. They couldn't decide whether it was a homicide or a suicide. The investigators then really focused on the idea that it may have been a homicide. And when they began focusing on her ex-husband and one of her daughters, they concluded that he had been able to manipulate one of their daughters into helping him kill her. And they
talk about teaching your child to hate and then enjoying watching them hate. He brainwashed, manipulated this child to kill her mom, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed that. He's probably still enjoying the fact that she did it. How sick.
Chalk it up to this concept of parental alienation, where a parent has such power over a child that he or she can manipulate the child into acting out against the other parent, and in this case, actually help murder her.
You know, as a mother, you hear this parental alienation, and I wonder how common is that? Is that something that happens often?
Yes, everywhere, all the time, across the country, across the other countries, everywhere in the world, all the time, happens every day. Millions of people. I heard 22 million people in the United States alone. So, yeah, very common. I know it's difficult for people to understand it if you haven't been through it, because it is really mind-blowing, but yeah, no, it happens all the time. All it takes is all it takes is someone with a personality disorder to get a divorce and be angry at their ex, which most of the time I think people with a personality disorder might really just be angry at their ex naturally.
Well, maybe not to this extent, I would hope not, but right. It's far more common than we realize. The American Bar Association published a report a few years ago looking at 1,000 families that were involved in divorces that also involved child custody issues. And in 65% of those cases, the concept of parental alienation came up. One or both parents complained that that was an issue in the divorce. So it's far more common than I think we realize. And I think that's a problem, because I think judges just see it as a parent bad-mouthing the other, as opposed to what many psychologists say it is, which is real child abuse.
It is child abuse. It is child abuse. And unfortunately, I think that right now, the long-lasting damage that it does to the child, their identity, their personality, their view of the world, their physical health, their emotional health, their progress in school, their beliefs about themselves, their beliefs about their parent, their relationships, their romantic relationships. This touches and spreads like a web throughout the child's life. And not only the child's life, the childhood, but their adolescence, their teenage years, their adulthood. It can last a lifetime. The damage cannot currently be quantified. It can't be qualified. This experience is not limited to me. And what is the cure for parental alienation? Well, it's unfortunate because there is a cure for parental alienation, but children are not currently really receiving that cure. The cure to parental alienation, I can tell you because I've received the cure. I've spoken with many other people who have received the cure. I've even talked to people who are in charge of reunification programs who have given the cure to their patients and have seen them thrive too. The cure is readily available, and the cure is for the child to realize the truth and be reconnected with their targeted parent. In a child that's under the age of 18, this would involve the child learning the truth and then a reversal of custody, the targeted parent receiving full custody. In adults, young adults, anyone above the age 18, this also involves learning the truth, reconnecting with the targeted parent, setting firm boundaries, whatever that individual needs with their alienator. That's the cure right there. Once these children figure out the truth or are told the truth and they reconnect with their targeted parent or their custody is reversed, what happens? They're not mentally ill anymore. They're not having stomach aches and headaches and all of these other physical symptoms. They're not having that anymore. Myself, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression at the age of 9, which is when the alienation solidified for me. And I refused to see my dad, refused to talk to my dad, refused to go with my dad. It's not a coincidence that at the age of 9, that's when my headaches began, my stomach aches began. That's when I really began living in this misery. But after a year and a half of knowing the truth now and building back my relationship with my dad, all the professionals in my life that I've worked with for a really long time, they're like, you actually just have PTSD. You don't have depression. You don't have anxiety. My life has done a 180 for the better, and I'm finally able to heal and be the person that I was meant to be that person that I was before I was alienated. So that the cure is already there. It's just not available for a lot of reasons, but one of the big hangups is that people aren't allowed to talk about or say the term parental alienation. For example, therapists are not allowed to tell the child what they're going through, or not allowed to tell the parents what's going on in terms of parental alienation. Let's keep watching the video.
Where is Lloyd now?
Lloyd is in prison. He was, he took a plea, and he was sentenced to life without parole. So he is never getting out. But his daughter, Carrie, was sentenced 1 to 3 years, and it's not quite clear when she'll get out, but she will get out much sooner, obviously.
Okay, well, I'm glad that the dad is going to be in prison for a really long time. I personally think that this child is going to need some long-term help in the terms of like a mental facility. I don't know exactly how she's going to be able to live with herself. I hope that she's able to eventually learn the truth and forgive herself. But that might be really hard. That might be a process that lasts maybe a lifetime. This is the most horrific case I've ever seen.
What's intrigued you perhaps the most in this case? What really sticks out in your mind?
Well, I think this idea that a parent could brainwash a child to this extent, it's hard for me to believe, but I had a long discussion with the DA, and he compares it a lot to, the parent who's actually doing the alienating. He compares that parent to a cult leader. And that seems to make a little more sense to me, but it's still very difficult.
I'm really glad that she brought this up, because I've often said that parental alienation in severe cases becomes a cult of two. So there's the cult leader, who's the parent, and the cult member, who's the child or children. Cult of more than two if there are multiple children. And recently I was gifted this book by someone in this community, awesome, Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. It's Freedom of Mind, Helping Loved Ones Leave Controlling People, Cults, and Beliefs by Stephen Hassan. I'm going to start a monthly book for a reading, and then I'll do a video too if you guys would like to start my monthly reading program that we can do together. So this is the book that I am going to start. This is next month's book, actually. I'm scared is going to be really accurate. So Stephen Hassan is a former cult member who has been involved in educating the public about mind control. She mentioned cults, that's why I brought this up. I just was going to read this at the gym today. But I want to read something out of this book really quickly just to break it down for you. Dr. Hassan talks about certain behavioral patterns that define a destructive cult. Destructive cults are distinguished by the use of deception and extreme influence. So deception with parental alienation, check. Extreme influence, check. They're your parent. It seems like there are three main behavioral patterns that can differentiate a cult from a destructive cult. Number one is authoritarian leadership. Dr. Hassan says that in essence, a destructive cult is an authoritarian group headed by a person or group of people with near complete control. Charismatic cult leaders often claim divine or otherworldly powers. Many legitimate religions have power, and then it goes on to say, a group becomes destructive when its leader actively uses such power to deceive members and to rob them of their individuality. So authoritarian leadership, you can say a big check mark for that. The second factor is deception. In this case, the parent is manipulating the child to reject their other loving parent via deception. So yes, this applies. And then the third is destructive mind control. Dr. Hassan says that cult influence is designed to disrupt a person's authentic identity and replace it with a new identity. They immerse people in a tightly controlled, high-pressure social environment. Destructive cults gain control of members' behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. They limit their access to outside information. They literally take control of their minds. Just from the first chapter of this book, you can see that parental alienation, a severe case especially, absolutely a cult, absolutely a destructive cult. Really excited to read this book. If you would like the link, I'll leave it in the video description. But let's finish watching this video.
To understand how a 19-year-old smart college student, going to school in Rochester, not even living with her dad at the time, could be coerced, manipulated, convinced to help kill her mother. That really is intriguing to me. But I will say the district attorney and the family of the victim all really believe that that is exactly what happened.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight into this case. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Leah.
So let's watch one more video in this case because that was pretty short. This is really sad.
It's not unusual in hotly contested divorces for one parent to turn the children against another. There's even a name for it. It's called parental alienation. But can one parent's influence convince a child to help commit murder?
And that's what an upstate New York district attorney thinks happened in the case that Carrie Neurauter investigates for this week's 48 Hours.
On August 28, 2017, police in upstate Corny, New York were called to the home of Michelle Neurauter.
911.
Got something strange happening at a friend's house, and I'm concerned.
Police found the 46-year-old mother of three hanging from a rope, an apparent suicide, but Police Chief Jeff Spalding had doubts. Because you couldn't figure out how she got a mark here.
No, I didn't like that. That was unsettling. It appeared as though somebody pulled back and down and caused that.
Those who knew Michelle best were convinced she was murdered, and Michelle's mom, Jeannie, was even sure of the killer.
I'm thinking it's more than likely Lloyd killed her.
Lloyd Neurauter was Michelle's ex-husband. For 5 years, the couple had been embroiled in bitter custody battles. Michelle accused Lloyd of turning their daughters against her. Susan Betcha-Tomer was Michelle's attorney.
There were 26 separate sets of filings post-divorce.
And how unusual is
That is super unusual. If you have 2 or 3, it's a lot. To have 26 is astounding.
On the day police found Michelle...
What did they do about that? What did they do about that? What did they do about that, though?
The couple's middle daughter, 19-year-old Carrie, at college in Rochester, called Corning police and spoke with Lieutenant Jeff Heverly.
My friend called me earlier today and told me about my mom, and that she, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
He called and told me that my mom hurt herself.
Carrie told investigators that over the weekend, her father Lloyd helped her move into her college apartment and that he had spent all night at this hotel. But when police checked the hotel video, they actually see Lloyd getting into Carrie's car and not returning until early the next morning.
We don't.
This is so scary. This is so scary. I mean, you see the picture of her and you hear her voice. She's a beautiful girl. She's a beautiful young girl.
Lloyd all night long. Here it is 6:30 in the morning, and here he comes onto the camera. He still appears to be wearing the same clothes that he had on the night before.
Police soon begin listening in on phone calls between father and daughter, and what they hear makes them even more
She's so
suspicious.
young.
I'm freaking out.
Me too.
If Lloyd did kill Michelle, did he somehow convince Carrie to help him? You think she was brainwashed?
I really think she was brainwashed.
Wow.
Holy shit. I hope this girl can come out eventually and speak out against her father so that we can prevent this from ever happening again.
8 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty is here with us now. So, parental alienation. I knew that it existed, but I didn't know there was a name for it. So, could a parent brainwash a child into
Like everyone else.
Well, this is a new one for me. I didn't realize how common parental alienation is. So first I should just explain what it is. So it's more than just bad-mouthing a child, bad-mouthing a parent in front of the child. It is like a campaign that actually almost reprograms the way the child feels and thinks about the other parent. So giving you an example is like, your father's late again. Okay, that's bad-mouthing the parent. Parental alienation is your father's late again, and if he loved you, he wouldn't be this late.
Yep.
And it's this campaign of doing that. And what the DA says in this case was that this father had had this campaign since they were little and really convinced the children to devalue the life of the mother. And then he gave them this incredible choice. So he said to her, at least according to the DA and according to the young woman, he said, okay, Carrie, your mother, she's charging so much in child support, I'm gonna have to kill myself. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go on without me, or we could kill your mother. And so she had to make a choice between her parents. And they're saying that that's why she had just been programmed so long, she chose her dad over her mother.
It almost seemed, though, like it could be sort of the perfect murder. It looked like a suicide. Why didn't they just leave it at that?
Well, I have to tell you, that's one of the things I loved about working on this story is that the police really could have let it go. The medical examiner, the first medical examiner who looked at the case, called it undetermined and said, we can't tell. But they felt that there was just too much going on here. And the more they looked into it, they actually wiretapped father, daughter, and heard them going, oh, I'm uncomfortable, should I talk to the police? Why are they talking that way?
Wow.
And so they really stuck with it. It's a very impressive police department.
I really can't wait to see how it all ends, and I know I'll find out this weekend. Erin Moriarty, thank you very much, as always. You can see Erin's full report, Carrie's Choice, Carrie being the daughter, tomorrow on 48 Hours. It airs at 10/9 Central right here on CBS.
Wow. That's a really extreme example of how alienation works for every kid, because they're put in a position where they have to pick. It's me or it's your other parent. And he literally threatened to kill himself or we're killing your mom. But due to the amount of brainwashing and manipulation in this case, and I don't really want to watch the full documentary. I have a feeling that would be really dark and depressing and probably, I hate the word triggering, but triggering. I'm conflicted because I guess she deserves punishment, but I think this girl more than anything deserves help. And if she had known what her dad was doing, and if she had known the truth, there's no way that she would have killed her mom. She was being weaponized by her dad to kill her mom. So she's being punished for a crime. Yes, she helped commit the crime, but does she really need to be in jail? Or does she need to be in a locked mental facility? I don't think people understand just exactly how parental alienation works, which is again why I started the project. This just confirms, along with many other filicides, suicides, murder-suicides, how dangerous parental alienation really can be. In its most severe form, it does end in death. It has ended in death. It will continue to end in death. I'm sorry this is a bit of a downer, but this is important to talk about. Please leave in the comments below, have you heard this story? What are your thoughts on this story? Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you value what I'm doing here, please subscribe to my channel, share a video somewhere. If you are an adult alienated child survivor, email me at the Anti-Alienation Project at gmail.com if you're interested in joining a support group. Deep breath. I'm curious to see if I could get in contact with this girl, Carrie, and possibly interview her. I know that's probably a reach, but how cool would that be? Thanks for watching again. I'll see you next time. Bye.